What's going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome to another episode of Truth Seekers Mastermind Alliance. Some of
Truth
you heard
Seekers
that title, thought it
Mastermind
was a little
Alliance.
familiar.
Yes, we are here. I got
Yes, don't worry, we're back. And actually, let's do a little bit of a pre rollout too for everyone that's listening and has been listening, or if you're new, we are actually going to be going and having potentially a third. Okay, we're still feeling it out, but potentially have a third coming in to the
Oh,
mastermind, to the group. What
okay.
can we call it? Well, because as we very much know, when two or three are gathered, there he is. Look at me stuttering. I don't know how good of an episode this one's gonna be, but yes, we are looking at somebody very unique that will potentially be coming on soon. We don't know yet. We're
Not
still
as unique as
feeling it
me,
out.
but yeah, you
No
getting
promises.
no, we had a rollout before with this gentleman, and he is definitely
No, we
on
do.
fire for the missions of different things. So it'll be more of a, as
Mhm.
Mr. Heck versus Hell likes to say, double entendre. Double
Boom.
entendre. Yeah.
Boom.
So we'll see where it goes. We're looking at his schedule. We reconnected back.
I don't think we've officially rolled out like the official rollout to the public. Like you and I did it, and but we not to the familians. So I'll look forward to that and see what's going on. If it didn't happen, well, it didn't happen, and nothing changes from here. But just want to put that out there, wherever it is that you are listening to this on: Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, all
iHeart,
these places.
Podcast Addict, Google Cash, Giovanni, I can't say it right. And yeah, we have a Castbox, Pandora, and yeah, and the list goes on. And we're
Look at
very
that. I just
appreciative.
hit her with the layup. That's what I
Yeah.
do. That's what I do.
So everyone, my voice is a little bit in between. You notice my pauses. Have to be real and raw with you, but the rain here is getting a lot more in my throat than I realized. And lemonade didn't
Mhm.
help me too much, but we're there and we're excited to be here again. And this is welcome to all new. This is Lexus T of the Real Double Dose channel, the host with the most now. But we have for RDC Syndicate, and we're here gathered together in this wonderful union of our matrimony to this platform. But first and foremost, to God. So, True Seekers Mastermind Alliance is about everything under the sun that we can gather in. But most importantly, the foundation is biblical principles, getting to understand the God connection, and hashtag the identity series coming out. I'm so fueled and pumped about this to go with the triple E+3. You guys don't know all the way, but once you do, yes, you will understand why it's called the triple E+3. But yes, to our whole pie in the sky, if you're listening to this future forwarding, we're looking forward to your presence here. No matter what may happen, hopefully we get a chance to have you on at least a couple times, per weeks in between,
Yes, we
whatever
do.
it is. So let's get it, because I'm excited about this, and it kind of gives me a little bit of a chills. But yeah, heck, okay, Hector can really break this down the way he did for me earlier, and for me, I look at it because my brain's so full of the Matrix in its own way of like different, not the Matrix we break free of, but whether it be AIs, whether it be this, and that, whatever's going on, my notes and stuff. He broke it down so deep earlier. I didn't think I was going to catch on to it, and I'll get agitated. And then I'll be like, you know what? Okay, just forget it. But this time I was like, whoa, it kind of hit me. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I got into his words. So listen into his words as he tries to explain this, at least the way he did to me, of where we're going throughout this conversation. So let's roll call, Mr.
Let's roll it out. Okay, so this is gonna be a little bit of a shorter one, just because it's a topic that we've actually been speaking over for a couple weeks now, here and there. It hasn't been like a whole deep dive into it until just a little while ago, whenever we're like, hey, you know what, we need to go into it and actually make a little episode about it. And you're looking at the title. We have no idea what the title is yet, but we want to base it on these
creatures with freaky. No, it's fine.
creepy creatures, right?
No, I was gonna say freaky. Yeah, freaky.
Okay, freaky creature. Yeah, it could be. You never know. But there's been a lot of videos recently too, and I've sent these videos to Lex, and this is kind of what incited the conversations. But we very much understand, all of us should, to an extent, how intelligent animals are. Right? They
Well,
have
let's put it in here too. Just a quick interruption. Okay, so we're gonna have part one on here, and we're gonna also link you back here wherever you are. But for the people who are gonna have part two, we're actually gonna do the video walkthrough on our YouTube channel. That is slowly getting together over the years, but it's there. We're gonna have videos that we're showing of this, so you might want to just stay
Yes.
tuned for those, so you can check out the YouTube channel for our rollout, so you can see the more of a visual effect. But yeah, and so forth. I just want to say,
Boom.
right
There
now,
you
like
go.
yeah, that's it.
There you go. So if you got redirected back onto here, this is the conversation we were talking about. All right.
Absolutely.
So we understand very much so that they are really intelligent. You know, they were made by God. They have a certain similarity when it comes to the creation, even of man, right? Because God still had to blow a breath of life into them so that they can come to be. It doesn't specifically go into their design in whether they came from dirt or not. I'm assuming they did. I could be wrong.
I mean, but look, I mean, I just want to say for what you said. I know I'm interrupting right now, but you got me so gone on this. What about because let the animals and everything else come forth, right? Like, was it
Mhm.
even a part of creation to say it? Like, they had to have come forth from where though, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the origin. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, the origin. So it could have just been from water. You never know. But we do know that they were designed in a similar fashion. Obviously not to our level of degree of how he looks at us, right? Of how we were created to be. But in the understanding that they are still God's creation, same way with the angels. Same way with the angels, how they go and they they're another creation of God, but they are not us. They are not mankind. We are created to be direct images of God. So there's still a difference even between us and angels. Okay, so in the same way, there's a difference between us and animals and all this other stuff, right? But they still have that level of consciousness and that amount of innate design to show love, right? To do different things. Because we've seen some beautiful things, actually. We've seen animals that go, and I think one time there was like a antelope that was giving birth, and the antelope, as soon as it like gave birth, it almost like ran, and it started running, and the baby antelope kind of stayed in place. So it's like the baby antelope fell down, and you could see a cheetah come into the camera, and she looked right there at the baby, and it was so confused. The cheetah was so confused, but it didn't eat it. It actually decided to semi raise the antelope. Now, as to if it ate it later down the line, we have no clue, right? But it still had that innate knowing of like, well, I'm not gonna harm something harmless. I'm not gonna go and go out of my way to be super cruel and evil. Now, of course, there are different understandings too, even whenever it comes to monkeys, the way they start going and tossing their own dung around and, being so violently aggressive to where, they aim to cause harm when it comes to killing somebody. They go for doing as much damage as possible and that's their means of actually killing them. They don't go for immediate boom. They try to, dehumanize you, demonkey you, whatever it may be, and then go for it. But it's just a beautiful creation that we can look at it to see. But we have to understand in a similar fashion that we were created in the flesh, and the flesh has certain components that we must break through and become above, elevate above, so that we can go and mend our body to the spirit and not follow the natural design that we were created to have. Just like, for example, cortisol, that fight or flight stimulus of having the peace, having the calm, right? Naturally, also, we're going to have fear. That's innately in our design, right? We still have that same adrenaline that goes and gives us that almost boost of knowing what the feeling of fear is. But we have to come and elevate above that to further become those spiritual creatures, right? So, yeah, yeah. So once we get into the different conversations, and I'll let you roll out some of them of the ones we're talking about. But once you get into getting past a certain point, it becomes dangerous.
Oh
It's
yeah.
It's the same way, right? And I know you can agree. It's the same way if, for example, we as mankind didn't have the proper foundation to elevate, yet we did it anyways to be able to somehow elevate outside the body without the true foundation,
Mhm.
right? So that could be different things that God considers divination, that God considers abominations. We can go and use these factors to elevate, but ultimately it's not with the true foundation, right?
No, it's not.
So it's like the same concept when it comes to the animals, because they don't have the consciousness to have that true foundation that we're speaking of. Whenever they get more conscious, they become more lenient to be vessels for the adversaries to come in and use them.
Yeah,
And that's where it gets really dangerous. And that is why we named this episode what it is. Don't know exactly what it was, but what was the first video that I sent you? I can't remember what it was
I don't
about. Kind of like it was a pet, I believe.
pet. I'm trying to. Well, I don't know. But maybe it was a dog speaking in response. You think?
Was it that one?
I think
Okay.
so.
Yeah, that dog. So, like she said, you probably saw it already on online on YouTube, I mean. But that dog, you remember how it kind of went, how the conversation went, or how it started and everything? Because
No,
we kind of went through the journey of that dog a little bit.
okay, so I don't know how the video sent. There's a lot of videos sent between Heck and I about different stuff going
Hmm.
on. But what I will say is, for the simple fact that I did see something that had to do with a dog. Now, maybe it was the. I think I sent you a video, but it was the same thing that might be going viral, where it was like
Okay.
me, dog, dog, dog. Those little buttons they push. Now they're selling them online, but
Uh-huh.
once you go something, some of them do funny ones where the dog's cussing out the parents, stupid B. Like I'm like, whoa, whoa,
I
but
actually just saw one where there was this little French bully, and he was on live with her, and he was basically going and accusing her of taking a treat, and he only had one button for her, and the button was like a ghetto person going like, "Hell no!" So she would just constantly press it.
really, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be kind of cool, but I mean,
It's
let's put it this
interesting.
way: it would be good, and don't get me wrong, there are already these two, and I'm sorry, these college or whatever people that they are, these two young men that are doing something where you can take a picture of someone's photo and know where they live and all the other information. And obviously, you know
Yeah.
whose hands that's in already, but I think they were decoys just to come out so that people have a softer rollout of cultural young men coming out. To say, oh, well, they can't persecute them for that. But it's like, you don't want someone taking your picture somewhere and showing up at your house waiting for you. So it could be very dangerous in the wrong hands.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. But if you think about that, you get to a point to where you're saying, man, how far advanced can things really go? I just know that if my dogs, okay, so all that to say, what if something happened? What if someone, hit or killed their wife or husband, God forbid, and all of a sudden the dog saying, he shot her. He shot her. I mean, come on.
Oh
Think
wow.
about it, or like
Yeah, I
whatever.
didn't
It,
even think
it
about
can be
that.
utilized for that too. Well, who did it? He did. He did. Something like that. You never know.
God,
Yeah,
just
that's what I'm saying. Like,
Ugh.
whatever it is. But think about this. Animals, and I cannot even imagine how, but animals have wanted to speak for so long in a different way. And I
Mhm.
believe when sin happened, in my own factual opinion of some of the things that go on through my mind, they had the ability to communicate with us. They have the ability because
Oh,
we're
I know it.
all
Mhm.
vegetarian diets, all vegetarian diet. We didn't eat them, and they didn't eat us or attack us when they knew we were over them. But I believe they came up and were simply speaking, not in a full blown human conversation, but enough for a toddler. At least a toddler level or something like that. The communicator say something. Otherwise, even in the Bible, when they made I believe the donkey speak, like, why are you kicking me? People, oh, well, that's what the angel, a lot of people debate, that's what the angel wanted to say. No, that's what it allowed the animal to speak. So that curse put upon from what happened, not from Eve falling, but Adam, the beginning, and Eve, the mother of all. It happened when Adam took that follow after Eve instead of trusting in the creator who gave him Eve. So at the same time, you look at that curse fell, even thorns right now. I always represent things as thorns in the rose. Rose and thorns has been my go-to motto for probably, I would say, since I was 15 or 14, because that's the first tattoo I got on my chest was a rose and thorns, because the thorns represents the pain you have to get to the beauty. And I didn't realize how deep that concept was right now, to a lot of things. But yeah, it could go backfire. Now, some of the notes that Heck has on here is what was it called? What was it? The depression now of that animal. I mean, that's one thing I'm into. Heck, like I think about that too. Like our cats, being able to communicate or anything. Like even parakeets, or what do you call it, cockatoos or something like that.
Cockatoos.
I don't like this food. I want something better. Like, who are you? I
Hmm.
want to go outside. Like, can we meet the demands of that now? And then their consciousness. That's what I was
Oh,
thinking.
I'm telling you, that's why I just don't like cats.
Okay. Well, when Heck was talking about he doesn't like him for, I think he'll
They're
cut him
too
off.
conscious. They're too conscious. I just don't like them. They get attitudes. They
There'll
literally
be
have
one,
attitudes. You know.
one that comes along that steals his
We'll see what's up.
I've had two and three, I have three in my life that have stolen mine, and they were
We'll see what's going on.
my best buddies. Maribel, rest in peace, my little one, and Zena, my little friend. I was my little Burger King girl right there. And Mario was like a beautiful cat. Now that cat Mario, I'm telling you what, everybody, his eyes were like the biggest marbles you have ever seen. Beautiful. They look like the universe. And one thing, I don't know, Marciela, God rest her soul, my sister had found him or brought him home from somewhere, I think the pound or wherever. And I've never seen a cat like that in my life. I mean, this cat followed us all the way across town and back, knew where to go, stayed. He literally waited for us. He knew he came at our door. I truly believe he was some kind of higher vibrational entity inside of him. I've been around sometimes what our cat litter had 9 and then we already have 4. So I've been around hordes of cats. Like I grew up around cats a lot. And these right here were no exception. This cat right here was phenomenal. And I don't know, I think someone stole him or something happened, but that was a dog cat consciousness I can never forget about. But can you speak more about the depression? Because Heck can kind of lead us on this a little bit, because I like the way he breaks it down in his inauguration of conversation.
Thank
But
you.
I want to say, like, why do you believe that that animal was really displaying the depression of that, though? Like,
Yeah. So yeah. To go into what it is that you're referencing to, because I don't think you fully went into it.
oh yeah.
That whole button sequence. There was actually a dog named Bunny. I believe.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know what
bunny,
kind of
bunny.
dog it
Okay,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what kind of dog it was, and so they were training it, and they gave it a bunch of buttons. It was so many different buttons of what she could go and say, and it got to the point where they actually had to put the dog on antidepressants because it would start going and looking at itself in the mirror and just staring at
Mm,
itself, and then go back to the buttons, talking and communicating with its owner, mom owner, I guess, and it would say,
why
"Why
dog?
bunny dog?" Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
"Why bunny dog?" So it was trying to get to the point of comprehension to understand, why am I a dog? You know, and it's a similar way of how we even think of in this life, right? Why are we alive? What is this
Yeah.
all for? So it showed those symptoms of depression as well, and it ultimately they put it on antidepressants. And if you're not familiar with antidepressants, they actually pretty much dumb you down. And that's their solution, is to put you in a point of almost a constant high in a way, because it clouds your mind, and that's their solution, quote unquote, so that you can stop being depressed, which I think is just ridiculous. It's so dumb
Yeah.
because it doesn't get to the root of the problem. Now, of course, it's harder with a dog. It's much harder to help these certain types of animals, but I mean, that dog was depressed. There's no doubt about it. That asking those type of questions, asking those foundational questions that so many people, that children ask once they get to a point of,
I was just about to think about that. I would say that right now.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, once they get to the point of like what, 7 years old, once they fully start becoming conscious,
Yeah,
So
the brain form.
in the same way, so you start to see, first of all, those thoughts, those are not of God. We understand what thoughts are from God, which thoughts are not. Depression thoughts are not of God. Now I understand it could just, hey, you could say, oh, well, it's just a question. He's just trying to understand. But the emotions behind that animal, the change of behavior, like they saw it just became lethargic and it didn't want to do it. The very clear signs of depression, right? So those thoughts are not of God. So it just furthermore goes to
Wow.
show,
Wait a
once you
minute.
start gaining more consciousness in animals, of course, right, it makes you a lot more susceptible to these entities. And it's the same way with us, even, right? It's very similar with us as well. Once we get to a higher point of consciousness, we are more susceptible to these attacks. Once we go and open certain gateways, like my brother did, unfortunately, in his accidental mannerism of doing it, he can see these different things and he can hear them more clearly, to the point where he's so scared and petrified that he doesn't trust anybody. He just living a very paranoid life, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because he doesn't have the patience to see and allow God to play it out. Even though I've tried reaching out to him, it's the same way though. The same way we go, we have to have a foundation before we can start moving in the spirit. Animals have to do the same thing. Once they can be to a point of understanding us as humans, they can go and, I saw this other video. I was telling Lex about it. It
Wait,
was a
I
pit
want
bull,
to.
I believe, in some kind of, I want to say it was a Mexican household. I could be wrong, but they were basically going, and the guy went, grabbed his phone, and was pretending to call somebody, and he was talking to the phone saying, "Oh, well, is this a dog pound? Okay, well, good. Great. Okay. Well, I got a problem." And the dog was just staring at it like, what's he gonna do next? All like wide open eyes, wondering what's going on. And the owner was like, "Well, yeah, I got a problem. Could you pick him up? By chance, could you come pick him up?" "Okay, I'll see you soon." And the dog started barking. Like he understood what the guy was saying, but it still caps them. So once you get to a point of trying to teach them to communicate back, that's whenever it becomes more dangerous. Because in the same way, babies can
Wait,
understand us,
wait. Time
but they
out.
can't.
Time out. Time out.
Yeah,
I have to say something because I'm losing it in my brain if I don't say it.
go ahead.
Babies.
Go ahead.
That was your note. Babies. Babies. Babies can. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to say something to go back a little bit when you were well, maybe it could have been lost now, but it's a form of the consciousness part. It's almost like the
Mm-hmm.
layers between even Diablo, Lucifer saying, I want to ascend my throne up there, right? Not over God, because he can never be over God, but us too. We're always looking for and speaking to angelic creatures, speaking to aliens. Why? Not for the fact it's always knowledge that man is after. We're not satisfied in deep innately, we're not satisfied with the breath of God alone and the consciousness of being in God's image. We're saying, no, we want more. We want to
Mm-hmm.
know more of the whole of who we are, but we're willing to kill off more of us to learn more about who we are as a single instead of being one mass consciousness. Now, think about that. Another one I was going to throw in there is just think about the meat that we eat, right? What if the flowers and the trees could communicate? Just like the movie with Mark Wahlberg called The Happening, where the nature was communicating to kill us. What are the bees, like the movies? What are the bees were saying, like the bee movie? Stop taking our honey. Stop killing our. No, we don't want here. We don't
Yeah,
want
yeah,
milk. We
that's a
we
good
don't
one.
want milk taken anymore. But we're
Mm-hmm.
made above them. But if communication happened, PETA would have a field day. I mean, literally, if you think about it, it would. Like, what about the dogs being like they bark and they yell? But do you think maybe? And I'm asking, heck, I'm asking all of us. But think about that though. It has to go deep. This is thoughts, food for thought. Pero think about all that communication. Now, Bunny, for example, could go out and start barking at another dog saying, hey, I can communicate with these humans and they can understand what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying go on some mass conspiracy, killing off all the animals and hurting them. Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
But now that what Heck was just saying, their consciousness is open. They're constantly a baby knows eventually down that form of looking like us or coming from us knowing as parents, they're going to be able to have, at least for a lot of us, autism and different things are very real. My nephew, different ones are dealing with that. And some of them have non-verbal autism, different levels to it. There's different things, but they have a human way of communicating, and somehow we understand that we're not an animal, right? But what about this? What about the understanding that that consciousness now in Bunny awakened to say, man, there has to be more. Why was I, maybe the anger and depression? I don't know. Heck, I mean, I'm just saying. What if it came from like, man, why did I get the piece of consciousness to be conscious, but I can't talk or be on the level of them? I'm always going to be under them. Man has tried to make another man his slave, but animals are bound to be up under us because they're not made in the image of our creator. So what kind of, well, I want to know, what kind of piece of consciousness do they have in them? Or is it, well, the breath is in them, but the consciousness itself is not of human origin, right? But what is it then? Because if they can communicate with us clearly, man, just imagine some of these animals that have been, the DNA structure of that. If an animal can communicate in the DNA structure so concise that they can start running from the womb, they can start hunting. Even the sea turtles know where to go. So small and little. They know they have to run to the beach. They know they're going to get picked off by sea, whatever else. They know innately. But just imagine that DNA code going back thousands of years and being able to have those animals and creatures speak. Would they be introduced to the mentality of the spirit of the Nephilim? Would they be influenced by the spirit of the serpent that allowed, now a serpent or the beast, whatever it might be? And that doesn't say it was a snake, just like this fruit. It doesn't say it was a manzana or an apple. But at the same time, what if they're able to correlate and literally pinpoint the things that we know of now? I just wanted to go deep with it since we're in Truth Seekers Mastermind. I wanted to put that. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was fidgeting because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget this. I'm gonna forget this. I'm gonna forget this. But then I'm like, okay, I just have to go in right there. Okay,
That's true. I mean, that's kind of, but think about that too. Like, we're coddled. Hey, we're coddled as mankind. Because imagine going and directly after birth, you have to use your limbs like antelopes, like sea turtles, right? They immediately have to go into that. Okay, let's survive. We're in it now, you know.
Yeah. Who would be after us is the question. Who would be running? I mean, think about it. Just from, and I look at the lion's fierceness, like the lion just goes at it like a freight train. Even when, I understand the zoos and so forth like that, but the lion, it's like they want to say, oh my goodness, it makes you want to have them all have a little bit of a voice just to see what they would say. The curiosity, I cannot get under. And there's a thing called the incubus. I don't know if it's called the incubus. Now they have videos going on. I've seen this several years ago where unculus or something, incunculus, where where the semen would be introduced to an embryo. And the things that came out because of it, the embryo actually hatched or was birthed or whatever, and it attacked the person that created it. And I think it was a Russian man, and he smashed it right there on camera. He was upset, but it was like angry at him the moment it came out into that form. It actually squirted some kind of clear liquid in his face. And I was thinking, man, I don't know. This could go hella deep. I'm just going to say, everybody, let me just be quiet and let him go. Okay, hey, bring us to the babies. Babies can. I'm sorry. I want to know.
Yeah, it is deep. I mean, we can go, because that's another conversation that we were going to have too, is about the creation, right? The half breeds, the nasty creatures that the Nephilim have created. Well, it wasn't the Nephilim, the fallen angels had created, right? So, I mean, that's a whole different conversation as well. But once we get into we'll spin back around for that one. But yeah, we were talking about babies, right? But in the same way, look at babies. They go and they have a certain point of consciousness to where they can understand you. They can understand your tonality. Maybe certain words they can pick up. They can understand the frequency in you're operating with. They can understand the demeanor on your face. They can understand and comprehend these elements and kind of put it together in their mind. But that's as far as they can go. And ultimately, even as mankind, for the most part, we make so many lateral movements of evolution. Right, when it comes to dogs too, their lateral movements of evolution is being trained, right? Still understanding commands. they can't completely speak to you all the way in a fluid voice to say, "Oh, hello, owner. I'm glad to see you back." They can't go to that point, but it's the same way we as humans make a lot of lateral movements. We don't jump into true elevation. We make lateral, quote unquote, improvements, all lateral movements, because even if we go from living a life where we are very depressed and we're living in this life and we go and turn it around to now we are successful, now we are following these types of principles and now we're successful, it's still a lateral movement because ultimately you're going to end up in the same place as the next person. So we make those lateral movements, and by saying the same place, I'm saying there's a difference in going and actually giving your life up the proper way to Christ, which animals can't fully do. So they are forced to make those lateral movements, and if they try to make them trying to be upwards in that same way they did with those animals, it becomes a danger because you give them more consciousness, right? And we actually just saw a movie last night, Lex and I, and it was a deep one about different types of artificial intelligence. We'll have to make a whole nother conversation about that one too, but that's more like end days artificial intelligence.
Well, I can't say that. That's another full one because okay, let's be real.
That's what I'm saying. That's more end days artificial intelligence. That's like synthetic life is what it was called. It's not.
I can't really elaborate on this because I'm saying I passed out. So him looking at her, just saying,
I'll elaborate.
This is me, right? Absolutely. And then I remember a few little parts, and all I felt was the coziness of my socks and the heater. And then I just laid there.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I just passed away. So I really want to finish that. So I can't really. Don't spoil it for me.
I won't. I won't. But yeah, I mean, we make a lot of lateral movements. It's never really elevated movements because it becomes dangerous. And God designed us that way too, because He knew ultimately we were going to get to the point of sinning. He wanted to give us and allow us to have that free will. And ultimately, percentage wise, it would have been very difficult. It's not a 50% chance, of course. It takes a lot more elements into, what it actually is, of the approach of the snake, right? The way he said it, the way he worded it, who he approached, it's all these elements that go into place. So many of them, even if it were to be in a different what are those called, in a different variable, I want to say 99% of the time we were going to fall regardless. So that
I mean, that may be so, but connecting this, even if the parrot, which we'll probably talk about in part 2, is I won't hurt you kind of theme.
Yeah.
Now look at this. Did the serpent or the beast, right, or the beast that was used, okay? Everybody thinks it's snakes, and I understand the snake is crawling on his belly, and underneath the diaphragm of what they looked at, and scientists and so forth have seen where the feet are inside of the snake. There are feet. There are 4 sets of feet, or 2 sets of feet on each serpent. The snake itself, you can see where the feet are no longer able to come out of the body. That is true. So we look at it and we say, oh, it must be the serpent. It could have been a huge anaconda or one of the pythons. And I remember things were 10 to 20 times bigger back then.
Okay. I want to think about it too. I mean, wings are hollow bones. So it could have very much been a dragon, so demoting it from a very high place of being able to fly, eat the fowl of the air, and even swoop into the lakes and take those and take the creature, the mammals, to eating dust. That would have been a huge demotion.
But also too, to agitate that one more time, it makes me wonder even more. Was the serpent able to speak to her before Satan entered the serpent? So it doesn't say the serpent gained from the. That's a good question. It's like basically hit it right here before we end this. I'll tell you something. It is like the way they say they sell their soul for rock and roll, they sold their soul for a rap game. Is it the same? Now, we're not going to just focus on the music industry, but think about that when they say you sell your soul, you sell your mind, the mind and the soul, right? Connected to the body, the spirit of breath. You cannot touch that. That belongs to God. Even though all it belongs to God, especially the soul, okay, the mind of, the consciousness thereof, and the spirit itself, the breath of life. Think about that though. If you want to go back to the beginning of all that happening for it, did this animal, okay, this serpent, this beast, have so much of a calibration to where it was able to speak? So it said, hey, I got something I want to offer you. Now it says really deep broken down. I know 7-day ministry, different ministries at all. There is something that there's always exchange for the devil being able to use you. So regardless of what that was, right? He had to do an exchange with that creature, just like he offered the rest of the third of the angels freedom or whatever they wanted to do. Now, obviously, evil was put in their heart to amidst to having a follower or a ruler that had evil, but he had to have had an exchange with that serpent, okay, with that beast that was utilized, and did the beast was able to see. So he was saying, basically, if he could speak or it could talk already, then that means he was saying, hey, now I allow my soul to be sold to you, or whatever we could call it, from that animal consciousness. He gave up that right for Lucifer to speak through it. That is a deeper connection. I like that conversation. That's something we might have to get on there together, obviously for part 2, but the new pie in the sky might have to get on there too if he can even handle the conversation. Because
let's see it.
That fire breathing here, but you think about that for a reason. It gives you guys something to even go into the Bible and look more into as well. The stir of echoes is what we hear. But hey, that's exactly what it is. You never know how things connect to each other. We never know how it goes. And it's more exploration for you to open up your Bibles and go into the conversation. Look at it for what it is. Don't look at it as a religious factor. Don't look at it as stipulation. Look at it as the chapters of life, the books and histories of what we can know about from our ancestors, the way to get a chance to understand more of God. And even though those might be confusing, that's why God puts his prophets, apostles, his oracles, the true ones that speak from the truth. And you can feel the truth because the truth will make you free. Not free in the confines of what we want to think and what we want to do, being selfish, but we need to be more selfless, to be self-full. So I was saying that previously on the episode that I was getting ready for everyone. So I just want to put that there. I didn't want to interrupt. I know we're going to have to wrap it up here, but I wanted to put that on there and have Heck enter us out before Angela. Yes, everybody.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
Angela goes into that. But
that's freaky.
I'm not going to hurt you before.
That's how I'm gonna leave it off. That's why I just teased it there. Yeah, it was freaky for a reason, everybody.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I was like, talk about an old Chucky movie feeling. It was on there, so I'm like, if I heard my animal saying in the middle of the night, I'm sorry, but I would have had. Never mind. I'm like, yeah, we don't want our vegan community or vegetarian community. I grew up vegetarian.
I don't give a hoot. I'll give it to our bullies. You know what I'm saying?
And different things I had to between my native lifestyle, my Alabama lifestyle, I'll just say, and my Colombiana lifestyle. There's a lot of different things I had to go through in order to get to that plate that I wanted. I'm just saying, thank you, Jesus, amen. But yeah, this is something we're gonna have a part 2, and I would like to get, if we can, maybe merge this into our we are not alone part 3 coming up, because this actually might be on our We Are Not Alone part 3. So catch that too. But we will have a, God willing, a video series on this, so you can just at least more visual. Probably a little bit of talking in between, but different videos we can collect to see, let you guys see a more I almost said visual guide to this. So I'm just gonna say what I say on RDC, because this is what we do. Remember to be the change, feel the passion, and what else?
And embrace the power of the wonderful, beautiful spirit within that is always calling upon you and within you.
Amen.
We love you all, and we will catch you on the flip side.
TSMA. We'll see you later. Bye.